Universally, I think something business owners and leaders struggle with is delegating, the giving up control, passing off a responsibility. There's like this fear that it's not going to be done right or to their standards. What do you think the fear is all about?
Well, if you're talking about business leaders and people at the top not giving up control, that's usually it, right? Because the whole vision of what they had, often a lot of people didn't have that vision, or they wouldn't be there if everybody else had that vision. And they had to fight tooth and nail to get this vision out. Now, everybody understands the vision? No, that's not the case. Or everybody has the passion? No, that's not the case. Also, they've been doing it by themselves, 2 months, 20 years. I don't know what it is. And maybe they just don't feel that anybody will ever do it better than them. Now, this could be an ego thing. This can be just a lack of confidence in somebody else, or maybe they just feel they'll lose power. But you cannot scale. You will not scale because entrepreneurship is a team sport.
Who does what? Let's talk about roles and responsibilities. As your business grows, it can be confusing to stay on top of who has each responsibility in the business. I've talked to so many people that say, what I do today looks nothing like the job description that I accepted when I was hired. The fact of the matter is, people's roles and responsibilities change all the time. And so it's something you want to stay on top of and keep documented and accurate in your business playbook. We'll be discussing the importance of clearly defining roles, delegating tasks, and ensuring that everyone has a clear sense of their roles and responsibilities. We'll also cover best practices for creating a role chart and an org chart, creating clear lines of communication, and creating a culture of accountability. Can you think of a time when you did hand off something and it just felt like freedom? It was something that just the person you had was so good that you didn't even have to think about that area of the business again.
How did I get here? I got here by grit. I got here by going to video sets and everything, and just dealing with people and putting a shirt on somebody and taking it back. And as I got here, and my partner Keith came along and said, well, I can do it. I was like, you're nothing. He can be a partner. You're not going to do this. I mean, they all love me, and that's it. They won't deal with you. Keith could sit in the studio with old, dirty bastard from 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. Well, I had to work. I would maybe go to that video set, wherever it is, not a studio, and hopefully get a hold of him and convince him. They were family after that. And then the whole Wu-Tang Clan was family, all because Keith came in there. Now,
is this official advice right here for me?
This is not the official advice. And Keith had cataracts. That's what he told us. And I'm just being real with you. That was his way of communicating, and he was within the FUBU guys. He had another subculture because that wasn't my thing. Mm-hmm. Then we moved to a larger organization. And now it's not called going to the studio, hanging out. It's called marketing, public relations, and branding. Yeah. We bring in a woman named Leslie, who was somebody who was working in the Macy's organization, and she wouldn't go to a video set at all. She did not enjoy any form of those other things, but she knew how to pick up the phone and converse. And it was a different form. And Keith would say, well, you ain't going to sit in the studio with old dirty bastard. We grew past that.
Yeah.
And we grew to a point where we had to be professional. And we grew to a point where somebody on a professional level had to communicate who we were, why are we doing this, the problem we're solving, and why you should wear our clothes, write up an article on us, put us in the Macy's windows with class.
Mm.
And Keith and I did not have class. I wasn't, I was as classy as I could be, but I was 28 years old, a kid from the street who just the only big job he had was Red Lobster, and with no education. Mm-hmm. And you had to pass it off. And every time we passed it off, it just kept going up.
Okay, what are roles and responsibilities? Well, your role in the business is pretty much just your title in the business. It's what you might have on your business card or your LinkedIn profile. So that title is your role, and the responsibilities are all the things that you're expected to do as part of your role. If you've ever built a job description, your role is the thing you're hiring for, the responsibilities are what's listed inside. You want to know that people that accept the job to work with you are competent in those responsibilities, and for people within your business, you want to know that they're engaged in learning these responsibilities or performing these responsibilities up to par. Roles and responsibilities are really all about accountability. If you know who does what in a business, then you know who's accountable for certain tasks, outcomes, or results in the business. And when things aren't going as planned, you know who to go to talk about it and workshop a solution. If things are going as planned, you also know who to go to ask questions or to innovate on new best practices. Being clear on roles and responsibilities creates this alignment between the employer and the employee so that they know how they're doing a good job. I think one of the best ways to make sure roles and responsibilities are clearly defined is just to ask each person in your company to come up with their own responsibilities list. And as you come up with your list of what you think they do, and they come up with their list of what they do, you can cross-compare and realize that there are some gaps there. That's your chance to close those gaps and to get aligned with someone's real list of responsibilities. If your roles and responsibilities aren't clearly defined, what happens is you get lost in this gray area. You get people pointing at each other. Oh, I thought you were going to do this. No, I thought you were going to do this. You really want to know that each person understands what they're held accountable for, because they know what things are their responsibility to own. As a business grows, roles and responsibilities change constantly. This is something you're always going to be evolving, because as new people take on new growth or new areas of the business, they're going to take on new responsibilities, and they'll in turn have to let go of old responsibilities and hand those things off to other people that are ready to take on those challenges. Here's what happens as a business grows. One person in your company wants to grow and they want to take on new responsibilities in order to be more valuable for the company. They want that promotion, they want that raise, and so they stretch and take on new responsibilities. But they don't have bandwidth for everything, so they're always letting go of old responsibilities that then trickle down to other people on the team, or maybe new roles that you add to the team if you're adding headcount. So roles and responsibilities are constantly changing. As a business grows, people also may get more narrow in scope. A lot of times in a small company, you'll have a generalist kind of person that does a lot of different things, really has a lot of width to their role. But then as you bring on a few more people to the team, you start to carve out some areas of specialty, and you take things off that first person's plate so that they can focus on a narrower set of responsibilities. Their title might change, their list of what they're held accountable for might change, and it's your job to keep it always up to date so that you know what you expect, the employee knows what you expect, and their peers or coworkers know who to go to for what.
My first real fashion person was a quality control person named Mr. Cho. And Mr. Cho happened to do 2 and 3 jobs. He did the speccing, but he also did the logistics. Okay. And then when we got big enough, we needed to have just somebody to do speccing so he can concentrate on logistics. And then we got even bigger. We needed quality control that even after the designer handed it to him, he made sure it was all done and logistics was going to ship. Somebody actually need to look at it and say, all right, this is all, the factory cheated us here, you know, and it kept growing and growing and growing. So now all of a sudden you have a designer who was used to going shop and sending it to the factory, but now they got to stop and give it to a person here, right, to have quality control. And then you start bringing on a graphic designer because you start growing and you need more graphics in there. Well, now you need a hardware expert. And now you have to put all of those people together. And if there's no system, well, do I put the graphic on first? Do I create the graphic and I do the gene first? Or do I do the gene first and then do the graphic? And the buttons, I'm not sure. Do they match the color of the graphic? Is either the tonals? You know, it's all fixed in procedure and processes put in place. So if you're not communicating correctly about the end goal and the process and the procedure, well, you got a big problem, even though both of you want to succeed.
An org chart is a structure of your organization that shows who reports to who. These are the actual people in the business. In contrast, a role chart shows the different roles in your organization and which roles report to other roles. Now, you may have a business with 5 or 10 or 100 people in a specific role, and a role chart outlining that chart is a simplified version that shows you not all the people, but all the different roles. It's really powerful to have both of these as you're planning for the future of your business, because in an org chart, you could see the entire headcount and how that grows, but in a role chart, you can see new positions that you're creating that you'll need to define responsibilities and create training for. A single person in your business can also occupy multiple roles in your role chart. So as you build out your role chart, create all the future positions or all of the positions that your business may have in a more mature state. Then put those people into all of the different seats that they fill today. That'll give you a good understanding of who may be spread really thin and where you may need to hire next. I think it's important for employers to have constant conversations with their employees about the responsibilities that are on their plate. Because you want to know, are people engaged in their role? Do they like the work that they're doing? Do they feel challenged? Do they want to take on new things? Is there anything they're ready to let go of that they've been doing for a long time? So be sure to have this constant communication, whether it's during your annual reviews or on quarterly cycles. Use this roles and responsibilities documentation as a tool to talk about employee growth. The first step to having a culture of accountability is for people to actually know what they're going to be held accountable to. And so by clearly defining, here are the responsibilities on your plate, and here are the results that you'll be held accountable to, you've got something documented that you can point back if you need to have that performance conversation. But accountability starts with documenting what you expect. You should update your org chart and role chart at least as often as every new person starts, or if someone changes seats in your business. So anytime a role is changed, take a look. Anytime you're doing org planning or thinking about the next hires for this quarter or for next year, anytime you're doing budgeting, these are all moments where your business structure might change, and you want to consider your org chart and your role chart to be sure it's up to date. This doesn't have to be that complex. Just think about, what does your business do? What are all of the responsibilities that you need to uphold in order to do that work? And then how can you group those responsibilities into batches of roles or the people that will do those things in your business? That's it. If you've got that information, you can build an org chart and a role chart and keep them up to date.